Alright, and welcome back to the YouTube. 3-2 day yesterday. Um, UTRGV, they were kind of up and down the entire game. I was pretty comfortable that they were going to win just from watching the game. But, yeah, ended up winning outright, which was nice. Rutgers, I don't even want to talk about this one. Oh, man, I think they're either winning or tied pretty much the first, 35 minutes. And then Penn State goes on a little bit of a run where their Rutgers is now down 10. They come all the way back to be down 2. There's 2 minutes left. Back and forth, then they're down 2 again, 20 seconds left. They foul, and then back and forth of fouling and missing shots. They end up losing this game by 8, including one technical foul, which ended up being the difference. Yeah, Rutgers, I want to ban them, but they're starting to improve. I don't know. We'll see. Shitty game. Fairleigh Dickinson pretty much was covering the entire game. TAMCC, man, I really liked this spot for them too, but Houston Christian just could not miss in the first half, and it was just way too big of a hole for them to come back from. Montana State, pretty shitty first half, but they locked back in, ended up winning by 10. Not bad. We take 3 in 2 days. Should have been 4-1, but we move on. Let's get into the first game. All right, game number 1. We have Texas Tech heading on the road to Cincinnati. When I look at this game, I don't think the Cincinnati team can keep up. Like in this Big 12 matchup, Texas Tech has looked like the much better team. Borderline top 15 team, definitely top 25 team this year, and they've really looked solid, and they're playing really well as of late. Obviously, you have some advantage for Cincinnati. They do play much better at home. And Texas Tech doesn't necessarily play too well on the road, but yeah, I just think the Cincinnati team is coming off a struggle win over 2 mediocre teams in Colorado and Arizona, especially the one at home against Arizona State that was pretty close for most of the way. We got this Texas Tech team that's absolutely rolling. They won 4 of their last 5, including wins over Utah, BYU, Kansas State, and Arizona. Before those last 2 wins against mediocre teams, Cincinnati was on a 4-game losing streak, only putting up 40 points against Kansas at home, 48 points against Baylor, 67 against Arizona, 67 against Kansas State. Seems like the second they have to play, a half-decent defense, they kind of struggle. And Texas Tech is a top 20 defense in this league. I think Cincinnati's going to be uncomfortable, as they always are. This is a huge step up of competition after they just barely beat Arizona State. I think Texas Tech finds their spot this game. They're going to be rolling after that big win over Arizona. I think they head on the road here and beat Cincinnati by more than 2 points. All right, game number 2. We have Dayton heading on the road to play Duquesne. I'm not actually sure how to pronounce them, as 4-point favorites. Now, I understand that people look at this Atlantic 10 matchup, and if you were to ask me last year, like, wow, Dayton's only laying 4 points against a Duke team that's, not necessarily that great, I would fully agree. But these teams are kind of going in completely different directions. This Dayton team seems to be completely lost. I don't really know what is wrong with them this year, but I typically don't think, they figure out how to play as a team on the road. If you look at their most recent games, yes, Dayton won their last game, but they barely won it at home against a Loyola Chicago team who's not even a top 100 team. Before that, they lost 3 in a row to George Mason, UMass, and George Washington. They barely beat a LaSalle team by 14 at home. They lost to Cincinnati by 7 in a neutral court. They looked really good before that stretch, but recently they look really bad. That's all I can say. And on the other side, we have this Duke team that started out really bad. They're on a 6 losing streak to start the year. But now, they've won 7 of their last 8, including against teams like UC Irvine, St. Bonaventure, St. Joseph's, Rhode Island. These are all borderline top 100 teams. So I think Duke is a much better team to back here, especially getting points at home. They haven't necessarily played very good as a home favorite, but they're 4-0 as a home underdog. Dayton is 0-2 against the spread as away favorites. Um, it's a travel spot over 200 miles. Dayton has lost both matchups against Cincinnati and George Washington. Um, Duke's won their last 4 games at home. Yeah, I really like the spot. Plus, there's still going to be some. Posh Alexander might be out for Dayton, and they're already a team that's kind of struggling with depth. So, yeah, even if you look at their head-to-head matchups, George Washington lost by 20, or beat Dayton by 20, and Duke beat them by 8. So, give me the 4 points with Duke. I think this Dayton team is still getting way too much name recognition because of how well they played last year. I think Duke probably wins this game outright, but give me the 4 points. All right, game number 3. We have Ohio State heading on the road to play a red-hot Purdue team. Now, this Purdue team has been on an incredible tear lately. They started out they started out pretty good. I wouldn't say they started out bad, but they had a pretty nasty loss to Marquette. They lost to Penn State, Auburn, Texas A&M. But these are all pretty respectable losses. It's not like they're losing to any bum teams. But I think these two teams are heading in 2 different directions. This Purdue team, after losing Edey, it's natural that they're going to start a little slower, kind of trying to figure out their new, responsibilities. And they've been dominating. They beat, Oregon on the road by 7. They beat Washington on the road by 11. They beat Nebraska at home by, oh my God, what was it, like 36 points. They beat Rutgers by 18, Northwestern by 18, Minnesota by 20, Toledo by 19. They're just absolutely crushing teams ever since that Auburn loss. And on the other side, we have Ohio State that just lost to an Indiana team at home by 1 point. They lost to Wisconsin by 2. They lost to Oregon by 2. So Michigan State by 7. You could argue, they're playing a bunch of close games. But I think Purdue is a significant step up here. And now they're heading back on the road to have to play this Purdue team that is playing with a ton of confidence. The last 2 times Ohio State had to travel over 200 miles. They lost to Maryland by 24. Yeah, I don't know, man. When I look at this matchup, I think Purdue will shoot lights out like they always do at home. They love their home crowd. They're going to find success from mid-range, from 3. They're going to slam the boards as they always do. Ohio State is going to struggle. The only shot that they're going to find success in is the near basket, and they don't like to shoot near basket shots. They're an outside shooting team, so unless they've, change up their game plan, I just think Purdue matches up really well against them. They're going to dominate in free throws like they always do. They don't shoot free throws that well, but that'll end up being the difference here where they end up covering this number. So give me Purdue at home. Lay the 10 points. All right, game number 4. We have a awesome matchup here. Big 12 matchup between Arizona versus Oklahoma State. Now, I understand that Oklahoma State is, at home in Big 12, typically leads well to the home team covering, especially, pretty big numbers here for a home dog at 9.5. But this Arizona team has really impressed me, and I do think they match up really well against this Oklahoma State team. If you look up just strictly off of matchups, this Arizona team they pretty much just like to play in the paint. They'll get you in the paint. They'll get you from from boards. They'll get you from steals. That's kind of how they get their points. And they're gonna have favorable matchups in every single one of these capacities, especially in the paint where they're 26 in field goal percentage. Against this Oklahoma State that can't defend the paint or the mid-range very well. So, I think Arizona offensively will have a field day. They're going to get a shit ton of free throws as well, and they shoot the free throw really well. They're 80th in the nation, 75% clip. It's not bad compared to Oklahoma State that can't shoot a freaking free throw, 72%. I guess it's not that big of a difference, but I like Arizona's matchup a bit better in terms of getting to the free throw line. Arizona's played much tougher teams. Schedule's ranked 14th hardest, Oklahoma State 87th. They've been playing these good teams really, really well. And if you look at the other side, this Arizona team is a kind of a horse on defensively. They're 22nd in defense efficiency. They top 40 in every single defensive category. They're not going to give you a lot of second chance opportunities. Oklahoma State, they might find some success off steals, but not that many. honestly. Yeah, I just think if we're just looking up strictly matchup wise, Arizona is above and beyond the better team. And if they play to their best ability the entire game, they easily cover the spread. Now, does that happen in the sport? Never. But um, I just really like what I'm seeing from this Arizona team. If you look at their most recent games, it's kind of the reverse spot. So Arizona went on a crazy 7-game win streak. They beat Baylor. They were beating West Virginia. They beat Cincinnati. They beat UCLA. Sorry, they lost to UCLA on a neutral court. But they started out the year much slower. They lost, 4 of their first 7 games, and since then they've won 9 of their last 11. So I think they're starting to figure it out. On the other side, this is an Oklahoma State team that probably started hotter than it is now. It got shit on by Houston, West Virginia. Went back home, beat Kansas State. Went back on the road, got crushed by Utah and BYU. Went back home, beat a mediocre Colorado team. So we're getting this Oklahoma State team that rarely wins more than 2 games in a row, if not 1. Off of a high of winning, and you got this Arizona State team that just got embarrassed by Texas Tech by 16 points, primed to really need a good bounce back spot here. Yes, it's on the road, but I really do think Arizona has played better basketball on the road than they have at home this year, and this Oklahoma State team has not. They are 2-3. Sorry, 2-6 as the home team. Yeah, I think Arizona by less than 10 points is a great spot for them here. So give me Arizona to win this game as road favorites, 9.5. Game number 5, we got Wisconsin heading on the road to UCLA. Now, I'm surprised this game is not closer to a pick'em. I understand that UCLA finally got that big bounce back win after they've been kind of in a rut, but this Wisconsin team is just so solid. UCLA has still lost 5 of their last 7. They lost to teams like Rutgers, Maryland, who are Michigan, Nebraska, North Carolina. Like, these aren't by any means bad teams, but they're in the same sphere as this Wisconsin team, if not worse than Wisconsin, other than maybe Michigan. This Wisconsin team, they're rolling. They're on a 7-game win streak. They've been beating not necessarily any crazy teams. They beat Iowa by 35 something. They beat Rutgers, a team that UCLA just lost to by 7. They beat Ohio State, USC. Again, they're not beating crazy good teams, and they seem to they've lost to some pretty good teams this year as well. But they kept it really close against Michigan, 3-point game at home. They got kind of blown out by Marquette by 14. They lost Illinois by 6, and I think Illinois is above and beyond. Does everything that UCLA does, but better. I think Wisconsin can keep this game close, if not complete, just straight up win outright. If you look at their matchups, Wisconsin has played a harder schedule. I have them as a top 15 team this year. They're riding a shit ton of momentum. And this UCLA team is just not consistent. And I hate betting teams that are not consistent. Yeah, I think Wisconsin, maybe they're kind of due for a tough loss again. But I haven't got convinced for this UCLA team. I know they got to win, but maybe they got that monkey off their shoulder. They're not going to be playing with as much intensity as they did in that last win. I think Wisconsin can go on the road here and keep this game close. Give me Wisconsin on the road as 3.5-point dogs. All right, and those are the 5 games that I liked the most today. I was looking through a bunch of games today. There were some that I loved, but I just couldn't get past a few things. I think the only bonus game I'm going to give you guys today is Iowa. This is strictly a positional spot. I don't necessarily think they're above and beyond a better team, but they're kind of a wagon at home, and they just got off a really bad loss. So I think Iowa is going to show up in front of their home team here, get back on track. I look at a few other games on the slate. I don't mind Tennessee in the spot. I wouldn't slam it. You could probably get a better live line, but I do think they are a better team than Mississippi State. I kind of liked the spot for Marquette, but they are currently on my ban list. they've screwed me way too many times, especially down the stretch where they just seem to always take their foot off the gas. So Marquette is probably a good spot against Seton Hall team that I absolutely detest. Texas, I think Texas has a big win here against Missouri. I do think that Missouri is the better team, but Texas, Texas home crowd is a tough place to play. So I would probably lean Texas there. I'd lean Louisville, and I lean Washington against Oregon. But yeah, in terms of bets, these are going to be my 6 bets today. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully we can keep this roll going. If you have any questions, any comments on any games, let me know down below. And as always, if there's any live games that I do take, I do post them in my Discord for free. So if anyone's interested in that. Cheers, and I will see you guys tomorrow.